Welcome back to Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California. It is the Four-Wall National Handball Championships edition number 69 with the United States Handball Association. This is the men's finals. My name is Dave Vincent. We're here next to David Fink in the broadcast booth is Paul Brady, the gunner from Ireland, looking to tie Nadi Alvarado Sr.'s 11th national singles title, and he's going up against a familiar foe, Martin Mulkerrins, last year's finalist, and in 2013 played Paul Brady to win the national championship, but he unfortunately back then did not win it. Paul took down that trophy, so he is familiar with the limelight at the Nationals. He's done it now 3 times, Martin Mulkerrins. As they get the coin flip from our referee, Kevin Price. And Dave, this is one of the most anticipated ones that I can remember.
Yeah, this very well could be the largest age gap of any national final in history. It's 15 years. Also, it would have been 15 years when they played each other in 2013, so they're either tying their record or they've got to be in the top 3. Now, both these guys have amazing serves. Historically, Paul Brady has the best serve I've ever seen, but Martin in this tournament has an amazing serve going.
Look at the gallery as the fans are trying to pour in to this area here, Dave. A lot of congestion for this men's finals.
Well, when Paul Brady plays, you can be assured that
all right, you guys ready?
There won't be one empty seat. It'll be standing room only. Paul could tie Nadi Alvarado Sr. basically in Nadi's backyard here for 11 titles. And Dave, I'm sure when Nadi won that 11th, no one thought that record could be approached or touched. And here we are, Paul Brady 2 winning games away from doing just that. Martin Mulkerrins going for his first USHA national singles title in his 3rd final. Pretty impressive, Dave. 25 years old, 3rd final.
The 69th annual Four-Wall National Championship. Martin Mulkerrins.
So referee making the announcement, crowd giving the round of applause.
Receiving serve in our first game from Paul Brady.
And then Paul Brady getting his round of applause.
All right, play ball. 0, serving 0.
Best 2 out of 3 to 21, tiebreaker to 11. You know, in that 1990 national championship that Nadi Alvarado won, his 11th, that was in Atlanta, Georgia in 1990.
Right.
0, serving 0.
You would have been a youngin' back then.
I was there. I was playing that tournament.
Oh, and Martin hits a crack, dug out though.
Paul Brady starts off this match with a great serve, but then an unforced error.
0, serving 0.
I love that shot from Paul right there.
The next time I see Paul Brady pass for a winner, it will be the first.
You mean the next time he gets past?
Yes.
Yeah. He tracks everything down.
Everything.
He's never in the discussion of get artists, but he is. Maybe one of the all-time
Who's having
best.
this discussion?
I'm having it trying to light the fire for it, but
yeah.
it never happens.
No.
Paul saying there was a bad bounce. Referee didn't see it, so they're playing through it.
Play now. And Paul will not be happy if he loses this rally.
I don't think Martin will be happy either.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be a problem, and that was 8 shots ago.
You guys want to stop play? I know he was. I didn't
I mean, you knew either guy was going to be complaining after this rally was over.
Point.
Paul does not look like he's moving as well right now as he did yesterday. I don't know if that's a leg thing or some soreness. Now, Paul knows he put his hands up there.
He did, but the referee just submitted. I didn't see it, so we played it.
Point.
And Paul had to do what he had to do.
Serving 0. Door. Window. One serving 0.
Oh my goodness. And that's a beautiful shot from the gunner. 2-0.
2 serving 0.
Paul is just so deadly on any ball that touches the back wall. It seems like he's even better when the ball clips around the side walls and gives him a little bit more time.
Yeah, he's conversion rate on those.
But I don't feel like Paul has shifted into 5th gear yet. He still seems like he's kind of feeling it out, and yet he's still up 4-0. I just get the sense he's had not thrown the fastball yet.
No, and that's the new Paul that we've seen, where he kind of holds that switch down until he needs to flip it. And when he flips it, it's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? There's another level here?
Side out.
Well, we've seen him do that in the last 3 tournaments, with the exception of the match he lost, where he tried to flip it and just, you know, got beat. But seems to play better in the 2nd and 3rd games. We saw that against Luis Cordova. Luis almost winning that 1st game, and then Paul just taking control, turning up the temperature in that 2nd game and cruising.
That was a setup that Martin wanted, and he wanted Paul exactly in the spot that Paul was, behind him to the left.
Well, Martin has not hit a kill shot yet in this match. They've played 9 rallies.
I don't think Martin needed to be that perfect on that shot. I think he could have left it high and still won the rally. Then again, like you said, Paul just doesn't get beat on pass shots. So look at that shot.
These guys played in the 2013 final in Iowa, Dave, and Paul Brady winning 21-3, 21-4.
Look at that little reverse.
You know, Martin is much stronger now physically than he was in 2013, but looking at Paul today, I think he is as well. I don't think I've ever seen Paul this fit.
Yeah, unlike you, I actually turned away when he took his shirt off. I felt slightly embarrassed.
I just don't see lob serves working against Paul Brady. A lot of times, you won't even see a next shot if you lob serve Paul Brady.
The only time we've seen it work is when Mondo did it in Salt Lake City a couple years back.
Okay. That's a nice return from Martin.
That's a nice shot from Martin right there.
Well, Paul forces it there. Did not need to hit that right corner from 38 feet with Martin in front of him.
Short. Second serve. Short.
My goodness, double fault.
Does that erase Martin's only kill? A double?
No.
No? Okay. Well, he does. Martin still does not have a right-hand kill. But he's got a great return of serve.
Replay.
You know, we talk a lot about the best server. It's a discussion that we've tried to ignite that has never gone anywhere. But what we never talk about is it's the best returners of serve who are the best players.
Well, Paul Brady's the #1 that I've ever seen.
Ever.
And you would say Dave Chapman's 1A or 1B. But if you're talking about current players, it's definitely Paul Brady, and I have a feeling it's either Killian or Sean Lenning after that. Sean Lenning's...
Time out after first. 1 minute.
Sean Lenning's return of serve is good. Killian's is good. But, I mean, I think the elite players, Robbie McCarthy has a good return of serve.
Luis Cordova has a very good return of serve.
But Paul Brady's right there.
Yeah, number one.
Really.
Number
I've
one.
never seen anybody as good as Paul, with an exception of, and it's not even an exception, Dave Chapman's return of serve is legendary.
Amazing.
I mean, these players would try to hop a ball and confuse him, and he'd just do what he always does.
It almost seems like Paul Brady plays percentage offense on his return. Chapman's was more punch to the ceiling or push out of the front, but Paul actually can just win the rally with these hard two-wall shots or passes. He never is handcuffed on a return, Paul Brady that is. He always seems to be able to take a full swing, whether it's a punch fist or a sidearm stroke.
I've seen it get hit, like he'll get jammed, but he has such a long swing that he gets himself out of it, and he's always back in the center of court. So I would take Paul's return of serve. Just that. That's all I'd want.
0, serving 6.
Please. Zero to 6.
Slide ball. Replay.
There it is. There's that first slide ball of the day. Luckily, though, not the announcer's curse.
0, serving 6.
And Martin's trying to win points with these pass shots. Maybe he's...
Nice shot from Paul right there. Dug out, though, from Martin, and then Paul does that.
Unbelievable. Maybe Martin is playing the long game and trying to wear Paul out by hitting all these pass shots. Martin had a point-blank setup from 5 feet from the front wall and hit a party ball and loses the point 4 shots later.
Nice dig on that serve.
Now, we saw Paul Brady look absolutely superhuman in the finals in 2017 in the first game. He ended up losing that first game to Killian 21-19.
7, serving 0.
And then he noticeably dipped after that first game. So maybe Martin is banking on that. Although based on what I've seen, playing Paul in the last 3 tournaments, which I have, he just seems to get better with each.
Well, we always felt that in the old years of Paul. For those that have just seen this Paul out as, like the last 4 or 5 years, the young Paul used to get better as the tournament went along.
Well, you have to remember, the young Paul didn't allow double figures in a number of his national championship wins.
Right.
I mean, you look back in Texas, and he's beating Luis Moreno, Dave Chapman. Neither of those guys scored more than 8 points in a game.
Replay that, Paul. You hit the glass standing back here. Replay.
So he not only finished strong, he started strong.
8, serving 0.
8-0 here.
4. Second serve.
You'd say that you don't want to rally with Paul because he's so good in the rallies. But then again, he doesn't give you much opportunity to end the rallies. So
9, serving 0.
you don't. It's not as though you have these opportunities to play offense. You really don't.
Door. Hold on. Get the window.
Martin generally, Dave, is a fast starter. We've seen the last few times Martin has played Killian, he's led 10-2. Although Killian is historically a slow starter, so you could see how that could happen. and Paul Brady is not a slow starter.
0, serving 9. Point.
Martin hitting a decent serve there, and his next shot he has to throw into the back wall. That's the kind of return you're facing off of a good serve.
And that's the first point for Martin
1,
Mulkerrins
serving 9.
here in game number 1.
Point.
You're talking about those point differentials. Paul Brady's opponents are averaging 7.25 points per game in this national tournament.
Which is about where he was from 2005 to 2011.
I mean, it's probably right at his average. Meanwhile, Martin's just scored 3 in 45 seconds.
Right.
3, serving 9.
I find it frustrating that you're in there in a groove and it takes 20 minutes and you're 9-0, and then all of a sudden in just 45 seconds, a third of that is wiped away, and now the 4th point and a smart timeout from Paul Brady.
4, serving 9.
4-9 is the call here. It's the National Handball Championships. There's the replay of that ball that scoots past Paul Brady, and he calls a timeout. You're watching this live broadcast courtesy of the World Players of Handball and its board of directors, members, executive committee, and of course the USHA and their President's Club raising funds, plus the membership base for getting this national championship series here on the air. It's number 69 with the United States Handball Association. The Nationals started 100 years ago. This year, first tournament was in 1919 at the Los Angeles Athletic Club. That was back when it was the AAU. Now those national championships were adopted by the USHA, but they held their very first one 69 years ago. And we're at Los Caballeros Sports Village,
All right, resuming play.
Fountain Valley, California. This is the game number 1. Martin Mulkerrins was down 0-9 and then all of a sudden scored 4 straight points.
4, serving 9.
And has made this a ball game now. Amazing serves down the right and some pass shots too. And he goes for a crack and almost gets it. And he does get that one. Paul puts a hand on it. Now 5 straight points for Martin Mulkerrins.
5, serving 9.
Wow.
Right out.
Paul hit that so hard it almost landed right in Martin's hand. And Martin was way out of position. Look at this ball. He hits it so hard. Unbelievable. And Paul does it again with another kill shot, 2 in a row. 1 for a side out, 1 for a point. Martin did score his 5th point there, though. Paul Brady was up 9-0. Martin goes back and gets it to 5-9, and now Paul's now scored 2.
We're going to replay that.
Nope. Excuse me, 1 at 10-5. Thought he was going to get a second one there, Dave.
10, serving 5.
Ball slid.
Hold on. It hit the window.
That's frustrating.
Been doing that all game.
It hit the window. Martin played it, hit a perfect shot. Paul was pointing right after he hit his ball, saying that it hit that.
Serving 5. 3. Green ball. Two serve.
And there's another one for Paul.
12, serving 5.
Should be a timeout too. And there it is.
Score is 13, serving 5.
13-5. So as Paul Brady was up 9-0, Martin came in, Dave, scored 5 straight points, and it looked like the momentum not only was crushed, but you saw Paul all of a sudden there look as if he was susceptible. And then he gets up there and he scored 3 straight after that side out. So 4 winning points in a way for Paul Brady. You'd say it's a game of runs, but Paul's kind of dominated those runs.
Well, Martin improved his return of serve during that streak he had. It enabled him to get into the server's box, and from there he was able to score a few points. Able to punch those serves to the left to the ceiling and get himself into the rallies.
15 seconds. Time to 10. Serving 5. Serving 13.
Martin did get his hand on that.
Point.
That ball kind of fooled Paul back there, and he seems to really be more susceptible on that right side deep. And I think maybe that's something that Martin could have picked up in practice.
6, serving 13.
Because he's getting most of his points from that serve. And there's another one. You know, it's kind of dangerous to serve with your back against the wall over there. You have to be pretty confident.
It looks like right now Paul does not have the right idea of how to return that serve to the right. Like, he does not have a plan for that.
Well, I think Martin must sneak one in like a 2-wall serve that he sneaks in every now and then. Because, see, this is really the only time I've ever really seen Paul kind of confused.
Right.
Paul's playing really far to the left, too.
Here's a setup for Martin. And remember, this run for Martin started with that
Underhand flub kill. Paul should put that away. Martin had that open lane down the right wall on that back wall setup, and he decided to go wide with it, and there's what happens. This is the wide return, and then Paul puts it into that corner and breaks the momentum again. Every time Martin gets a nice little run, Paul comes back with a nice kill shot of his own.
Short ball.
Ball was called short. Now Paul has his backside against that left wall.
Did you get the sense that when Martin makes a little bit of a run, Paul turns up the temperature a little bit?
Yeah.
14, serving 8.
I mean, I'm seeing the fastball now from Paul.
There's 15-8 now.
And you see the extra zip on that serve, and then a real aggressive footwork to put away that first strike.
Serving 8.
And you're hearing the difference in the sound now.
Nice
That's an
get from
amazing
Paul.
get.
People say, well, I've never seen Paul dive. But he does do it. Down the right is Martin here. That's a great shot. Dead into that corner. Watch this, Dave, on the replay.
Oh, this is special.
8 serving 15.
Oh, it's so good. See, again,
Yeah.
another great serve from Martin to that right.
Beautiful handball from Martin there.
It seems that when Martin scores 1 point, he scores a couple more. Martin's got something going on here on this right side. I'm not sure what it is. Paul's lining up far to the left, too. And
Not a good serve.
Thought it was 5.
I like that call.
Point.
I'm 50-50 on that.
No, not me.
Here it is here. Look.
10 serving
Oh, I just don't know. It's a good shot.
Replay. The ball, please.
You know, when the replay doesn't give it to you conclusively, it probably isn't.
10 serving 15. (11) serving 15. Window. (11) serving 15. Right out.
What happens when Martin sticks one of those serves that slides right back down the right wall on
He's
the
done it.
return? I mean, because he's
15,
getting so
serving
close,
11.
and Paul's playing so far away.
Yeah, he's gotten it a couple times, and Paul just sort of had to float a return back. But Paul's quick enough, even if he's fooled, to jump over there and get it back. But he's not going to return it with a lot of pace like he is with the ball
But
coming
Martin
around.
keeps trying, and
Right.
he's just every time he's getting so close,
16 serving
almost
11.
like he needs one more or two more serves, and then he's got it. And see, that's
Wow.
exactly what Martin's trying to do on the right side. Paul does it.
But Martin's doing it with a higher serve. I mean,
17,
he's
serving
making contact
11.
a lot higher.
17-11, and Paul goes right back to it again. And here's one of Paul's bread and butter returns. I love that.
Timeout, 1
That
minute.
is
Third.
just a perfect
You
You
shot.
see how every single time Martin gets some momentum? I mean, he
Yes.
brought it to 11-15, and then
Right.
now Paul's jump. Look at that. That ball looked like it had to have jumped over to the right, but it didn't. It just stuck.
When Paul hit that shot, I thought it was going straight down the right wall, but then as close as it was to the side wall, you thought, how is that not going to
Well, that ball's supposed to go from the front and hit the side wall. Everybody
Paul
else
has
it
a-
does.
Paul has a way of hitting the ball, very scientific, and he knows exactly the angles and the spins
Watch this.
and power he needs.
It's actually supposed to hit the side wall, but it doesn't do it.
Well, Paul's bounce passes are supposed to come off the back wall, as hard as he hits them and where they land on the floor, but they don't. They hit the floor and they reverse and they're gone.
15 seconds.
They double bounce the back wall.
So is he spinning this ball out of his hand here?
Yeah, the ball rolls through his fingertip in between his index finger and his middle finger.
And then it hits the ground, hits the side wall, checks immediately, slows up, double bounces the back wall.
Right.
And even if you're able to get down there to get to it, you're fighting the wall and
All right,
I believe
play
Paul
here.
has it in his mind where he wants the ball to land on the floor, not just where he wants to hit it on the front wall. He's got 2 targets.
Serving 11.
18-11 here. Game number 1. Paul thinks it's a bad bounce off the light. Paul raised his hand there during that rally.
The last time Paul raised his hand, he won the point.
19, serving 11. Thank you, Mark. Serving 11.
Martin somehow gets that to the ceiling. I think you're going to see Paul Brady just let it rip in game number 2.
Wow, there it is.
All the way through.
Dave, we're going to take a break and get ready for this game number 2. It's going to be amazing. This is the Four-Wall National Handball Championships. Game number 2 is Paul Brady wins the first one, 21-11. Game 2 next. Paul Brady going after his 11th title. Stick around with WPHLive.tv and the United States Handball Association.
30 seconds.
We are back for game number 2 of this men's finals. United States Handball Association's Four-Wall National Handball Championships, Fountain Valley, California. Paul Brady wins the first one, 21-11. Martin Mulkerrins looking to make some differences here. Dave Fink, tell me what Martin needs to do in order to get some points off Paul.
Well, I think Martin needs to play more aggressively. The serve he found to the right was working initially, and then wasn't really hitting his spots as well as he would have liked. I think sticking with that serve, if he can locate it a little bit better, will make a difference for him. But I think, and this is easier said than done, I think Martin needs to try and play a little bit more offense. He's hitting a lot of pass shots, which are good shots, but against Paul, they're really neutralized.
Good luck, guys.
And Paul knows now he's 21 points from this record that means everything to him. And you're not going to see any kind of cruise control here from Paul. He's going to be all out here.
Second serve.
There's a dive from Paul Brady, Dave. And of course he puts it in the perfect spot. And there's two things you almost never see. Paul Brady diving and then Paul Brady getting past.
Is Paul Brady injured there?
Just up from me, right there.
Or is he looking for a wet floor? I thought he reached back to
that's where he dove.
Okay. But I thought when he walked back, he reached back to his hamstring. And you saw him pull it yesterday when he was playing against you, when he slid on that moisture on the ground, and you're thinking, oh no, here's that thing that happens to Paul at these tournaments where he ends up twisting an ankle or...
1-0.
I mean, you can go back over this historic run of 10 national championships, and Paul's been injured in 40% or more.
Yeah.
An injury that occurs at the actual national championship, not one that came in with necessarily.
Well, and if you include the world championships, it's more like 50%. Not a good error there from Martin.
Well, if you remember, the world's last year was a national championship, but the one previous in 2009, the previous big injury was the one that he had on his his quad.
Second serve. Hinder.
I will say our referee is quicker on the hinder trigger than most. Martin having to dive to pick up that serve, and now Paul's out of position. Completely overhit.
Right out.
And Martin looks good here. It's a
1-0.
great shot. With the exception of that left-handed error that Martin made, every shot's been purposeful.
0, serving
He's reacting well to Paul's power in the front court.
thought Paul was saying there was contact.
And Martin shaking his head. And now Paul's doing a lot of talking in here.
I didn't see a slide, and neither did the line judge.
And I've seen this from Paul during this comeback that started in April. Seems to get upset with calls, and it stays with him for a few points. Saw it in the finals of New York in April, Dave, where he was leading 13-9 in the first game, going to 15, and thought he should have been awarded a hinder call and wasn't.
Well, he should have been.
Side out.
Well, regardless, Paul took the next 4 points off. Was so upset about it.
0, serving 2.
I heard that the referee in that match did
Horrible, by the way.
refereed a perfect game.
I called it good. Replay. We got 2 over here. 2 serves. Short. Second serve.
That's a great shot. He was dug out. I
But
can't
Martin
believe it.
is making some amazing gets here, and that's what he's been doing all tournament. Those kinds of gets.
That was, and he put it in a good spot too.
Right.
He's actually dragging his knuckles on the floor when he hits that, and he throws it in a perfect spot, and that ball hits Paul on the way up, the back of the head. And a lot of action, but not a lot of points here in game
0,
2.
serving 2.
Paul still has not scored in this game. He served a lot.
Martin's not going away.
2, serving 0.
No.
Side out.
In Paul's first attempt to win number 11, he lost 11-10 to Killian.
0, serving 2.
That was exciting.
Short.
That match was very exciting.
And that was Killian's first, I believe.
Second serve.
Yeah, you know, and I believe that just up until the semifinals, Luis Moreno was the one that looked the best in that whole tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Sneaky little spike right there from Martin.
2, serving 0. Screen.
What else could Paul do from there?
Floor good, Paul.
He actually put it in a good spot too, unfortunately, but that's the right call.
2, serving 0. Serving 0. Side out.
See how he takes a little off at the last second there? Just feathers it in.
You would have to say this is the longest Paul Brady's ever gone in a game without scoring. With 6 service innings, no points.
Look how soft that is, right in that corner. Perfect shot from Paul.
Second serve.
Yeeks.
That was a strange shot from Paul, who just handed Martin a huge setup with his right. Now Martin's put 2 setups in the floor, one with his left, one with his right in this game.
Short. I saw
Martin
the ball short.
may look back on the beginning of this second game and see some missed opportunities
Second serve.
that could have built a pretty sizable lead for him. skip.
Two, serving 1. Point.
And after Paul had a very easy look to tie this game at 2,
serving 1.
Martin quickly gets the 3rd point.
Front foot. Second serve. Side out.
Most guys go to the left there, and Martin was already leaning there. He would have had it, but Paul changes his swing.
2-minute equipment timeout. See that left glove too, Paul.
Let's see if we can see a replay of that last shot from Paul.
Change it. Martin, how are yours?
Referee called an equipment timeout.
No, Paul asked for it.
I was wondering what it was for.
Oh.
I didn't hear what the announcement of that was for.
Paul's looking to change that left glove.
The 69th USHA Four-Wall National Handball Championships, edition number 69, which is, you know, Dave, a big, rich history, but it goes back even further as the AAU held their first national championship in 1919 at the Los Angeles Athletic Club, just a few miles down the street. That's where Bill Ranft, is that Ranft? R-A-N-F-T, he won the first one with the AAU. Handball was played much earlier than that, though, even in the States. But that was just the first organized national championship. So it's 100 years. And it all started in California. You'd have to think that it was even more popular in New York 100 years ago. It's gone full circle now as Paul Brady's trying to win this one. This would be number 11 for Brady. Paul's very first win was 2005 in Houston.
The only 2 people to beat Paul Brady since 2004 in the Nationals are Dave Chapman and Killian Carroll.
Martin Mulkerrins is looking to add his name to it. Look at that gallery. Some familiar faces, but some newbies as well. United States Handball Association putting on a great show this week. The weather's been absolutely perfect. Beautiful facility, really it is. You forget how nice it is until you get here and realize, you know, you got the barbecue, the sounds, the music, the players.
All right, resuming play. One, serving 3.
This game, Dave, 16 minutes old, and Paul Brady only has 1 point.
A lot of side outs. And there's another one.
Well, could we potentially see what we saw against Killian Carroll? Now, Paul Brady lost that first game against Killian Carroll and seemed to lose all of his energy, but has he lost some energy here? We're seeing a lot of errors now.
Yeah, maybe. It all depends on how Martin reacts when Paul flips the switch. Can Martin hold it?
I don't know if Paul has the switch.
I think he does.
Activation.
Not right now. I'm just saying when he does it, will Martin react the same way other people react? I don't think Paul wants to switch it at 1-4.
I don't know. I don't think he wants to wait too much longer. I mean, Paul would like to get off to a good start here so he could take some pressure off himself.
My goodness, that is a laser right there. It was such a beautiful shot.
One, serving 4.
We'll see if Paul can put together any type of string of points here, Dave, which is something he hasn't been able to do in game number 2. He might get one, but he hasn't been able to do anything past that. Boy, do you see that whip right there? He just snapped that ball.
2, serving 4.
That's the second great back ball kill we've seen.
My goodness. And just like that, 3-4, all that work that Martin had over the last 20 minutes just evaporated. Just in one side out and 2 points. And Paul put extra miles per hour on those last 2 shots. And that was a perfect feather.
So that's literally 3 perfect shots out of the last 4 rallies from Paul, who really had not hit a good shot in the first 16 minutes of this game.
He just slices that ball.
Nice get, but comes up short.
Now Paul has the lead.
Yeah.
And if that's not somebody who just flipped a switch, I don't know.
5, serving 4. Right out.
That's a way to kill a rally there. Left-handed
4,
return a serve
serving
kill.
5.
Well, it's Martin's 3rd error here in this second game. But when I say error, I'm talking about a real golden opportunity to hit a kill shot. Not only do you not hit the kill, but you put the ball in the ground.
Point.
Now, Paul Brady has located his shots.
6, serving 4.
That's 5 straight points now for Paul Brady.
Timeout. Your first. Score is 7-4.
Probably a smart timeout there. I know you don't think timeout should exist in handball, but that one would be about the time that you call it 7-4 in the final. And you're up 4-0, 4-1. Paul's scoring 6 unanswered. He's clearly found something, but to me it seems like it's just more verve. I mean, it's the same Paul, but when he took that back wall shot with his right and you saw him put that little extra load up, like I'm going to hit this another 5 miles an hour more, that was a game changer.
Oh, wait, 2 of those down the left with his right hand that were, you would call them kill pass shots.
Right.
Because they weren't really an inch high, but they were low, but also past Martin before the second bounce.
Then he hit one with his left, and he saw right before he hit it, there was like a little stutter where he waited and then just put a whip on it. And that ball dove down from the side wall to the front wall and hit it about 1 inch high. And that's when he was rolling. And since then, it's just been a different Paul.
7, serving 4. Thank you. Point.
That was a good break there for Paul. That's a tough ball to fly kill. You feel like you should fly kill because the return's weak, but the way it hits the front wall with that awkward spin, Paul hits that with the side of his palm, and the ball hits the front wall sidewall and stays down. Most people either put that to the floor or give a big setup.
Yes, most people hit it 3 feet high, believe it or not. Ball comes and slides through your hand and pops up. Paul did the best you actually could do with it, I think.
I've noticed in this court, right around the dotted line and the sidewall, the floor is very slick. And that's where I've seen a lot of players slip, including Paul Brady yesterday.
Shorty Ruiz after that in doubles, slipped on that same spot.
But even when there's no apparent condensation there, it's the floor is in that area is very slick, even after you've wiped the floor.
9, serving 4.
Nice return off of a great serve. Paul had to leave his feet there, but of course still puts it in the absolute perfect spot. Most of the time when you leave your feet, Dave, it's not going to be your best shot, but Paul has that shot in his repertoire.
Paul Brady's now 11 points away from tying Nadi Alvarado Sr.'s 11th title. And he's, gosh, I thought he was going to get another one with that serve.
Those are good shots there. A lot of power. Driving the ball right at each other's chests.
This is a big setup here. Paul should put this away. He's going to go for it, goes for that corner. That's a signature shot for Paul Brady now at number 12.
When Paul hits that corner kill off the back wall, it almost looks like you're skipping rocks. In the way he hits it, the ball shoots up off the ground.
Serving 4.
Like a rock skipping across the lake. $11 straight points now for Paul. That was not great contact there from Martin.
Looked like he kind of mishit that.
Right. Was mishit.
4, serving 11.
It's the best mishit I've ever seen.
And there's another one from Martin. Does not hit that cleanly.
To your right, ball, yeah, right there. Right there. Up. Yep. Yeah, straight ahead, right there. Yeah, right where you, yep.
Paul did not change his shirt, Dave, between games. You've seen most players here changing 2 or 3 shirts per game.
5, serving 11.
Not a very good serve there.
Second serve. Six, serving 11.
Wow.
Seven, serving 11. Skip. 11, serving 7.
Scores 11-7.
Short.
Now Martin scoring some points. It's not over yet for Martin.
Second serve.
Paul's got that hop in his step now, like he can see the finish line in sight.
12, serving 7. Short. Second serve.
Terrible shot from Martin. What a rally. This is incredible. Oh my God. Paul Brady moving side to side. On the dead run, Paul flicks a pass
13, serving 7.
into this right corner, and Martin just
Short.
cannot track it down.
Second serve.
An ace serve on the Z serve for Paul Brady. Now the etching,
14, serving 7.
Dave, might actually start to take place.
Feeling the serve, I called the serve good.
I saw it short.
Both disagree, we're going to replay. He couldn't see that. We're going to replay.
Paul Brady.
That serve was,
Serving 7, replay.
it was
Serve.
short.
But he was having some words there with the
Right.
line judge. It
But he
didn't look positive.
Gets a first serve. But you don't want a first serve, you want the point.
Wow, I thought Paul was going to get that late.
Point.
Goes right back down that wall. Amazing shot from Paul.
15, serving 7.
Paul 6 points away from tying number 11. And that was short. No call.
Point.
Wow. Martin was saying that it
16,
bounced twice.
serving 7.
Now it's 16-7. Paul looking to get number 11. And he's held up.
7, serving 16.
Paul digs that ball out, 7-16. Oh, and that ball hits Martin.
Check the ball, please.
Martin pinned on that side wall, tries to jump out. I think it was going to hit him either way.
16, serving 7.
Saw Paul do that familiar head bob that we've seen years ago. The ball called short, Paul not happy.
Agrees, one disagrees.
Paul wants to know
Second
who
serve.
agrees and who disagrees.
The head bob is kind of like when The Rock took off his elbow pad to deliver the people's elbow. That's when you know it's over.
Well, he started to do it.
7, serving 16.
And that is because of
16,
Paul Brady's
serving
speed
7.
that Martin puts that ball into the floor.
Now the score of game 1 was 21-11.
Right.
That's right. A lot of 11s here this weekend. Martin's questioning. Paul just sits there,
Serving 7.
bouncing the ball, waiting for the ref to call the score. 17 points now. That ball barely over the line. Paul attacks to the right corner. Martin flips it back up. Little screen, no called. Martin is going to see that corner again for Paul. Unable to get it back. Paul gets his 18th point.
18, serving 7. Second serve.
Beautiful shot from Paul. Feathers away at that last second, Dave.
19, serving 7.
And Paul somehow backhand flips that, cannot get to that.
Seven, serving 19. Seven, serving 19. Second serve.
Wow. And each time Martin has tried a lob serve, Dave, it's been flat killed.
19, serving 7. Short. One agrees, one disagrees.
Paul's not happy about that line judge up there that keeps disagreeing.
Second serve.
Here it is. Paul Brady with a fist pump. He knows that he's done it. He's going to get one more point to get to number 11. Paul's got that little bounce in his knees, Dave, going for number 11 to tie Nati Alvarado Sr. in something I don't think he thought could be possible at this age after being denied 3 years in a row. That could be it. No, Martin's able to pull it back out. Brady goes back to the corner. And he does it. Look at this emotion from Paul Brady as he screams at the top of his lungs. And I think Paul is letting it all out right here with Martin. I think he's letting it all out, and I don't know if Paul could even stand, Dave. This is one of the most emotional celebrations that you'll ever see. You want to talk about a meaningful win? That's it for Paul Brady. Have you ever seen a guy celebrate like this?
I love it.
On a handball court?
Especially coming from Paul Brady, who's been so reserved his whole career, and to see all that emotion pour out of him.
As he's exiting the court and they have the presentation, that was an amazing celebration from Paul Brady. Emotional celebration from Paul Brady. And his sparring partner, Martin Mulkerrins, there to give him a hug. No disrespect with that celebration. It wasn't about Martin. It's about winning that 11th title. Now tied with Nati Alvarado Sr. with the most wins ever at the US Four-Wall Nationals, United States Handball Association crowning Paul Brady. He had to hop, skip, and jump out of the way of getting hit by his own ball. It's not probably the way Paul envisioned winning. You would think that that right corner kill would have been it. But instead he hit a slider that went down the right wall. He had to jump out of the way, and he ends up getting it. And now the crowd is putting their hands together for the gunner from Ireland. Going to be 40 years old here in the next month or so. 39 years of age. He's back on the court. As Martin Mulkerrins gets that second place trophy. He's always a gentleman.
Martin, again, tremendous show, making it back to the final. Again, second consecutive year. Your first one. What are your thoughts today after this? This whole week you gave us some tremendous handball.
Yeah, it's obviously very disappointing. Any final you play, you want to win. I woke up this morning full intentions of winning that game, and so did Paul. And you know, he served better, he killed better, he dictated the pace. And I think, for me anyway, maybe a bit of bias, but I think he's the best player ever. Like so, well done, Paul. You know.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce, now tied for the all-time singles title mark with 11 singles titles, USHA singles titles, with the great Nati El Gato Alvarado, Paul Brady. Paul, we were at this precipice in 2016. Here we are, 3 years later. You tie the mark. You're ahead 11-4 in that second game. Were those some of the longest, hardest 10 points of your life?
No, I just kept staying in the moment. I worked so hard for this over such a long time. Kind of screwed up a few times over the last few years, so I was intent on not screwing up today. I want to thank Mark for a great game. A bit of heartbreak, but you have to lose one or two before you win one or two. That's what happened to me, and I want to wish you all the best. It was a great final, and you have to beat the best to claim it. I kept telling myself that he was the best in this tournament, and I had to go and try and beat him. I came looking for two other guys, but I ended up getting Dave and Martin, so there'll be other days.
Speaking of other days, with 11 titles now, can we expect you back next year?
Probably not. Unfortunately, I suppose. Anytime I got to a record, I always said records are meant to be broken. But just too much sacrifice for my wife, and you'll have to ask her. You can find her on Facebook. Just ask her, bombard her. No, I don't know. Probably not, to be honest. I always wanted just to tie it. If I hadn't to break my finger, I'm confident I would have won it. And probably the one with Killian, not the one here 2 years ago. He beat me really well, but I probably had a couple of serves for the match 3 years ago. I left behind, so maybe if I had taken them chances, the record would be broke now. So, look, records are meant to be broken, but at this point, it might be someone else. I just got to take a long break now and see what happens when I get home.
Well, take that break, but I'm just letting you know now, June 10th to the 14th, 2020, Minneapolis. There's a few thousand people that would probably help you book your flight.
Like I say, you can find Shauna on Facebook. Send her a couple of messages and see what she says.
All right.
No pressure. No pressure.
Thank you. Congratulations, Paul.